So it's been a while since we've done one of these plot pitch videos, so why not do one here? So we're going to discuss, myself and Real to Real, who's here with me. You know, we've done a few of these all throughout 2019, about how they could take old concepts and reboot them into future Dragon Ball Super movies. And the one I want to talk about this time is, how can they take the Shadow Dragons from Dragon Ball GT, the final villains of that story, and how can Toriyama do with them like what we saw with Broly, and reboot them into the current Dragon Ball Super story, and make a movie out of it, or an arc, or whatever. And that's the topic of today's little plot pitch. What if, or what would happen, or how could they reboot the Shadow Dragons and make them relevant to the way things are now? Please welcome Real to Real, bro. Welcome back.
Always a pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for having me. It's always a lot of fun, especially since we have so much fun coming up with new, interesting, I would say, characters for these arcs.
Right.
And how they interact with everything in Dragon Ball. So, yeah, always a pleasure.
So, I think when it comes to the Shadow Dragons, right? We've done Baby, we've done Janemba. Who else? We had Cooler a couple times. There's actually a couple Cooler videos we could do. Mm-hmm. But I want to talk about the Shadow Dragons. You know, now in the original Dragon Ball GT story, the Shadow Dragons were birthed from this minus energy that was created from when the Dragon Balls were being used throughout the years for, you know, various different purposes. Basically, the Dragon Balls had too much minus energy because they were used too frequently. And that manifested, that negative energy manifested itself into being, you know, the Shadow Dragons. First, it was the Black Smoke Dragon, who's cool because he has a cigar, which is awesome. And then we have the 7 different Shenlongs, or Shenrons. And then Goku and the gang fought them until finally Goku does finish, you know, the last one, Omega Shenron, or Yi Shinglong, with the Universal Spirit Bomb, the Universal Genki Dama, and puts him away. Now, for Dragon Ball Super, I feel like the minus and plus energy idea is kind of a cool concept, but I think it could be done even better if we take not the regular Dragon Balls, if the Super Dragon Balls somehow, now that we have the Super Dragon Balls in the story, I think the Shadow Dragons could emerge from those things.
Yeah, like the one thing I would say there, one of the coolest things about the GT Shadow Dragons was they went back and gave reference to where all of the Shadow Dragons appeared, or where they were birthed, with the minus energy from the wishes that we'd seen throughout the entire show. This is something I've talked about, you and I have talked about so many times. A lot of people have problems with GT here and there, but really, when you look at the stuff that they wanted to do, that they were rushed in order to kind of get out the series finale because of cancellation, there's a lot of really interesting story ideas that come from a love from everything Dragon Ball, not just the manga, but the anime that came before it. And this is one of them as well. Going back and kind of reliving all of these negative energies that was brought up from the wishes that we had seen in past arcs of the series. I think you could do the exact same thing here, where you have these dragons birthed from wishes from the Super Dragon Balls, and then come out eventually. And this would kind of make this more of an in-game type of concept for the Super Dragon Balls and Dragon Ball Super as a whole. So you'd probably be way off in the storyline because we haven't had a whole lot of people using them. But you could also go back and give context to how these Dragon Balls were used in the past. It's very hard to put them together.
Right.
Champa's been looking for them for decades.
Or
yeah.
You could also have it to where Zalama shows up, who we have not seen yet in the series. Zalama, the creator of the Super Dragon Ball, shows up, and he's over here talking about how Zeno has been playing games with his balls. He shows up and he goes, "Don't touch those. Don't you ever touch my balls without asking." And then Zeno looks at him, and then Zalama he manifests the 7 Shadow Dragons. So it doesn't have to be directly from Super Dragon Balls, but it could be Zalama has the ability to create these evil dragons, and that ends up being the plot for this film, you know, or for this story arc.
Oh, no, and that would be a way to... I think that would be a great way to kind of push it to the forefront. Like, what I was suggesting would be kind of far off into the future, because I think in terms of everything we've seen in the main timeline right now, we've only seen 2 wishes, and it takes us so long to put these Dragon Balls together that realistically we can only do like one other one that would probably be Omega in this the very first wish on the Super Dragon Balls or whatever that creates his character. But I agree with you, like, do something to put it at the forefront immediately, and just bringing in somebody like that would help not only establish the threat level, but also go a very long way into establishing the mythology of the Dragon Balls, their creation, and the links between the Namex and all this other stuff that you can do with that storyline. You could just delve into that and dig into it for a multiple year arc like they're doing now with Moro.
I mean, they could even open up the Namekian Book of Legends and actually read up on like the history of this stuff. Either way, whichever way they want to bring these characters in, it could work. Obviously, Toriyama would have to redesign the evil dragons, possibly to more so fit in with the modern Dragon Ball Super designs. Maybe have them look similar to the original ones, but not identical, or just have them do the old ones. Doesn't really matter. Whichever one works. But the idea of having multiple villains and these dragons are kind of scattered across the multiverse, that could then give purpose to the other universes banding together and fighting against them. So we could have battles where you have a couple of dragons in Universe 6, then you've got the Saiyans, the Namekians, and Hit and Frost all having to come together to go against that dragon. Universe 7, you've got Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, that group. You have other, Rib Brienne might need some help, but you could also have some cross battles, and kind of have Goku and the gang chasing the Shadow Dragons throughout different universes. I mean, it won't really fit for one movie. It's got to be like an arc, because it's just, there's too much content.
Exactly.
Yeah, you've also got the story. You've also got the possibility of the Galactic Patrol being involved, Frieza's Empire, Broly, all kinds of different factors and chess pieces that, Toriyama, Toyotaro, whoever writes this, which they probably never will, but whoever does, could kind of play with this and really have this long arc, even longer than the TOP, where you've got a real problem here. And this battle has to be one where, and we've said this before, but it has to really apply here. This has to be a battle to where the god hierarchy is threatened. This can't just be like a Moro or a Jiren level threat. This has to be a situation where even the angels have to get involved here. Mm-hmm. And Jiren, like, bring everybody back from the TOP, but have them all be on the good side and have them all battling these Shadow Dragons, throughout the different universes. I mean, for all we know, he could even make 12 Shadow Dragons instead of just 7. Have the original 7 designs, plus add like 5 more. They could do something like that, But I feel like it has to be an actual problem where the fabric of the multiverse is endangered. This has to be like beyond anything we've seen, where even Zeno could end up losing this. And then we really got to get together and work together as a unit to win.
The one thing I would say to that would be really interesting is if you're going to segment the story one way or the other, where you're focusing on Universe 7, you're focusing on Universe 6, 2, all of them. One of the things you could really see is these characters coming together, taking out. So, like, you get to see Jiren taking out one of the weaker ones or something. And then you implement the evolution of Shenron and, like, Omega Shenron, right? Where he kind of
absorbs the Super Dragon Balls.
He absorbs the ones that were destroyed before as they're destroyed. So as they're taking care of the problem, you have a character getting more and more powerful. And then
what would pop me, bro, is if it's Omega Shenron, Yi Xinglong, whatever, and he gets so powerful that he ends up killing Zarama. He's like, screw you, and he takes over his, like, he rebels against his own creator. That'd be great.
Well, that would be really freaking awesome.
And ballsy.
Yeah. In both ways, right? So no.
Right.
No, and you know what? I really like that idea too. Just get everybody involved and make it like the end game type of content. One thing we've talked about over and over again when it comes to these pitches is, how does Dragon Ball Super end in a satisfying way?
We have to escalate this story as high as possible with the story.
Exactly.
Like, it has to be the biggest
and
thing.
It's kind of crazy to go back to this well every single time, because I think just a couple of years ago, everybody would have assumed that the Tournament of Power would have been the best way to escalate it. But the way that they kind of played that down as that arc went by, and even the way they set it up, like they left so much on the table that you could go back and redo and everything, that you keep going back to the well for these other ideas like Janemba and the Shadow Dragons and whatnot to figure out what would be an even bigger threat and how can you repurpose it for Dragon Ball.
We're going to have to do a threat where even the Grand Priest gets involved. Like, it has to be like that. We talked about it before. Like, they have to eventually get to that point for drama to build. And it has to be after the end of Z.
And you know what I want to say? I'm going to actually disagree with you here. And for a very specific reason, I want your thoughts on this. So, the end of Z, as you can talk about here, I know you made a video about it. If you want to put it in the description section below.
I've made a few videos about
exactly,
it.
But the repurposing and the redistribution of the re-edits of the end of Z, and the dialogue displayed. Because and correct me if I'm wrong, but the original said like something along the lines, and paraphrasing here, that like Goku is going to go teach Oob because he's going to keep the world safe along with the help of the Dragon Balls, and then they changed it to everybody like strong or something like that. Am I correct?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, of course. And so my thought with Dragon Ball Super has always been recalculation. I know you just recently did your video about the 10-year time skip and all of the media reasons why they're doing this, like all the financial reasons and all the
corporate is the word you're thinking of.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So all the corporate reasons why they're doing this, and it makes sense, but I think we need a more artistic reason. And I think that this is the perfect way to sum up the 10-year time skip and put it into perspective, where the Shadow Dragons come from the Super Dragon Balls. They're taken care of, and all that's left is the Super Dragon Balls. But all the Namekian Dragon Balls, all the Earth Dragon Balls, and everything else is gone by the time Oob is introduced and we're at the end of Z.
Really?
And then that way...
That's interesting. That's an interesting retcon.
And then everything is... Everything right now, there are still Dragon Balls. It can still be Dragon Ball. If they need them, they can go get them. But now it's at the level of trying to get the Dragon Balls as it was at the very beginning of the series. It is no easy task.
Right. They would have to go around the multiverse, really, or at least Universe 67 to get them. Now, the best part about this story arc would be the introduction. So one of the ideas I had was in Universe 7, right, or actually on Earth specifically, they could have a sub-arc where the dragon tries to go after the Earth Balls to kind of take their power. Mm-hmm. And the Red Ribbon Army is kind of revitalized under a new leader, right? And this character's name is going to be called General Furburger. Now, you're probably wondering, wait a minute, I thought they were all named after colors. Well, they are, and his color's brown, but I figured to be more creative, we'll call him General Furburger. And General Furburger, right? He's gonna kind of be like the way I'm gonna imagine it in my head, it's going to be basically going to be like a hedgehog, but brown. A brown hedgehog with a pink nose, a big pink nose. And that's going to be General Furburger. And I think that if we have some stuff with the Pilaf gang, General Furburger, and maybe that could be a lot of fun. What do you think about that?
I'm loving it. I love the idea of bringing back the Red Ribbon Army, because
under General Furburger.
under him, yes. I love it.
Who's always says... He says, unlike Commander Red, I'm not a pussy. And then other characters say, well, yes, you are. And he says, well, no, I'm not. And that could be the ongoing joke. Just don't Google that. Don't Google Furburger at home, kids. But anyways, so, yeah, I think... So here's the question, all right? So we have this long arc. These battles going on everywhere, similar to the Janemba idea we came up with a few years ago, but this one could actually make a little bit more sense. The reason why I'm saying end of Z is because I feel like, yes, you could set it before then, but I feel like there's a lot more drama if it's after the end of Z, because then we don't know who's going to live or die. We could actually kill off some characters permanently. We could actually have a major main character die, and it would sort of be, it would actually mean something. And now that there's no Dragon Balls, as you proposed, or at least not as easy as it was before, you couldn't just bring them back. And so I feel like that it just, I think, and plus the fact that GT is after the end of Z in the original continuity timeline, I just feel like, again, like that's something to where it just makes more sense for it to be after the end of Z. You know what I mean? Like, it just, for me anyways, more drama. It would obviously be one of the final Dragon Ball stories ever before maybe even Goku passing his, passing it down to somebody else, Oob or whoever, or maybe just it actually being the end. Now, do you think that a Omniversal Spirit Bomb, which I have talked about before, is that the finish here? Is that the big finale?
I think it would have to be. In order to do that, you would have to really make the case. And one of the things that GT really did is all of the, not all of them actually, but all of the Shadow Dragons were evil or incarnates of evil, the minus energy for all the wishes that were granted. You would have to play that up, and you would have to make it way more melodramatic.
What about the Fire Dragon? He was kind of good.
But that's my point. Like, they didn't do it all together. You would have to make it. You would have to play up that perspective, and that just goes back to what I was saying earlier. Was Dragon Ball GT isn't terrible, and they were rushed into something that they didn't want to. And they did their best.
That arc was definitely rushed, and I think that's the problem, is that they could have developed those characters more. And I think with this, they should develop each dragon more.
Exactly. Like, if you play it up and you have an appropriate amount of time, like I said, it's not a movie. It's an arc, and it might not even just be an arc of the anime. It's an arc in the manga itself. That would be really interesting to explore.
Years.
2, 3, 4 years of exploring this and exploring all the characters. I will, it just might be me, and might be cheating, but saying characters we don't know who lives and dies and whatnot, like, yeah, it would kind of suck to not see anybody from Universe 7 really bite the big one, other than the people that we don't really know about, like Frieza or 17 or something from the end of Z. Which would be impactful, but
I want to see Beerus die. That's a big one. I think Beerus dying is a big one.
I think that would be big and impactful in and of itself. But we also don't know who lives and dies right now in terms of all the other universes. Does Jiren die? Does Broly die? Does Kaba?
Broly's in Universe 7. You're right.
Yeah, those people are also on the chopping. Yeah.
People want Ribrianne to die.
She's not gonna die then. But you know what I mean.
Right.
You know what I mean. Like, these fan favorite characters are on the chopping block here, and how I agree that you kind of want a GT version of Piccolo sacrificing himself, because no matter what anyone says, like, that's really impactful.
At least one big character.
Yeah, like that's really impactful. But. Like, I think you can kind of fudge it a little bit to be like, what if Frieza sacrificed himself in order to fight off these things? Like,
would he ever do that, though?
No, but, like, theoretically, no. But, I mean, if you build up the story... I could see, like,
Jiren or Hit doing that, because they're more noble.
And Beerus doing it would be impactful. Like, I think Beerus has made such an impact. I was thinking
Beerus or Jiren or Toppo. That I think could work.
Jiren and Toppo, like, Jiren might be. Toppo is a little bit too. I think he's too idealistic.
He's all
him. I think if Frieza or Beerus were to sacrifice themselves, or if Broly was able to die for all this, I think that would be big enough for the fan base. Where it's like, that's something worth talking about, and it wouldn't need any retcon. It could be set firmly within the 10-year time skip, even though we're getting very close, and it would be kind of a rush job to put this type of a story when, from what we know from the 10-year time skip, it was relatively peaceful. We're talking about a multiversal threat,
right? And that's what I'm saying. It fits better after the end of Z. But either way, even if whichever place you want to put it in, Beerus dying, I think, actually is the more symbolic thing, because this whole Dragon Ball Renaissance began with Battle of Gods and with Beerus waking up. So Beerus dying, or maybe even Beerus and Whis, even though I feel like it's more likely Beerus would die, I feel like that is going to harken us all the way back to when we first met him in Battle of Gods, and be a much more emotional farewell to the character that pretty much represents the Dragon Ball Renaissance. Because that's pretty much, like, when you think Dragon Ball Renaissance, Beerus is one of the first characters that comes to mind. Some would say Goku Black, some would say Jiren, some would say New Broly, but it all starts with Beerus, and Beerus has been a major part of every arc. Every arc he's been involved. So, for better or for worse, I think he might be the best choice.
And can I say, there's two things I would really want from that if Beerus were to die in something this big. And I know it's a little bit off topic, but the two things as a fan I would absolutely appreciate and adore is, one, he dies and then he just acts like he just acts like King Kai. Like he has the halo.
No, I think he needs to die and like die. Like,
okay,
we're talking like not even go to hell. I mean die. He
needs to be Hakai. Like he's just out of existence. That's what,
that would really hit people.
Okay,
especially the fact that it would happen to him.
That is totally fair. So the second one goes off of that. Just to do its best to elevate the ending of Z. Not only does Goku, I know this has been a huge fan theory for a very long time, but not only does Goku want to train Oob, but Oob is the replacement. That to me is always kind of hit home. Because Boo is this been retconned into not being part of Bibbidi or Bobbidi's creation or something, but something that's existed for time and millennium for this entire universe. And then Whis has said time and time again, the gods of destruction can be replaced. And do you want to be replaced? Do you want to be replaced? Whatever. Just, I don't know, symbolically having the incarnation of Boo, reincarnation of Boo take over as the god of destruction, or at least the heir apparent to Beerus, to me seems impactful.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's different places you can set it, but I think that is the most important thing. So, what would you do? With this arc, I think it would make sense to give Shine to everybody if it's going to be long. Let Gohan have a moment. Let Broly have a moment. Let Vegeta have a moment. You know, you could even let Pan and Oob have moments if you're going to set it after the end of Z. Give everybody a moment. Even new characters from Universe 1, 5, what was it? 1, 5, 8, and 12, right? Those are the ones that didn't fight. Mm-hmm. So have them get in there. It could be the true, real finale for Dragon Ball. Now, here's the big question before we wrap it up. Does Goku die at the end of this arc?
No. Again, you have to give them a whole lot of credit in GT. The ending for Goku in GT is perfect because it's so big. It's this is just me. I don't know about you. It's
I've got the explanation, but it's going to go up in November.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited for that one actually, but
I am too.
To me, it's very ambiguous. It's the Dragon Balls, their importance and their relevance. I don't think he dies. I don't think Goku ever dies in this series.
Okay, so you choose not to have Goku.
No,
die.
Yeah, yes.
All right. What about Vegeta?
If somebody important who's been there for a very long time has to die, and I know I'm copying GT here, but I think it's Piccolo.
That's fine. I was just wondering. I think Beerus would be the most impactful now, but sure. I do agree.
Sure. I'm talking about old guard. People have been there for a long time. I think it's Piccolo.
Because he's kind of a lonely guy anyway, so I kind of see. Vegeta's got a wife, Gohan has a wife. It would kind of make... being a widower dark. Is always a sad story, you know?
Yeah,
I got you.
It's too dark. Piccolo's not super dark. He's somebody who would accept his fate, and... Yeah.
Okay, so you vote to keep Goku and Vegeta alive, but possibly kill off maybe Beerus and Piccolo. I kind of agree with you on that. So that's fine. That's not a bad ending. So let us know in the comments what y'all think about rebooting the Shadow Dragons. How would you do it? And also, before we go, any final thoughts, bro?
Man, I think that the Shadow Dragons... The one thing I'm very interested here for everybody in the comment section below, because I can't figure it out myself. You briefly touched on it. Is it 7 to go along with the 7 Dragon Balls, or is it 12 to go along with the universes?
Maybe it could be 7 at first, and then Zalama makes 5 more. You never know.
Yeah,
or if you really want to get ballsy, if you really want to shock everybody, what if Zalama shows up and kills 5 universes off the hop? Boom, just wipes them out. Boom, 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 boom.
You could kill the 4 universes we haven't seen.
Yeah, and then right, he kills 4 of them, right? And then the 7th one he can be in, and then people are gonna say, well, why doesn't he just do everything? It's like, well, because he wants to screw around with Zeno, like he wants to be seductive and screw around with him, so they could do something like that. That would be pretty shocking if we saw something like that.
I would actually really like that. And also, another question I want everyone to.
Of course, this is if he's a villain. The real Zalama is probably not a villain, but for this story, he could end up being one.
Of course, and you don't know. Like it could very well go with the wishes. Like
we
maybe
know
these
nothing about Zalama. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. That too. Yeah. So maybe Omega, the new Omega, could be the one to do it. Who knows?
Exactly. So that is something that I wanted to know, and also just as a fun little gag. The only way I see this happening is you get the Dark Shenron, Shenlong character.
You talking about the one with the cigar?
Yeah, like he's
the Black Smoke Dragon, they call him.
Yeah, he's amazing. Like I love that character so much, and just doing like the Omega.
And he's only there for like a minute, right?
Yeah, but he's well, that and everything in Heroes, but he's a fantastic character, and and if you're going to redo this, I don't care if you use the exact same layouts for all these characters. I want him. But like the universal version of him.
So it's basically like the Super Dragon from Super, except he's smoking a cigar. All right, that works.
I want that.
That's a pretty big cigar, bro. Wouldn't it be awesome if he's smoking a cigar and then he puts the cigar out on like a planet? Like he takes out the cigar and then he puts it out on a planet.
No, not even that. Like he lights the cigar with the sun.
With the sun. Now we're talking. What would General Furburger think about that, yo? Spread them.